Back here, first things first. Last night, the Nets lost a tough one to the Celtics. Spencer Dinwiddie had a nice game off the bench, scoring 15 points for Brooklyn. He's averaging 17 points per game this season. And more importantly, he now joins us here this morning on First Things First.
What up, man? Good to see you.
Thanks for being with us.
Greatly appreciate you joining us, man, too. Especially after last night and everything. You could have canceled big time this and everything.
He didn't. Hey, Spencer, do you follow the season as you're playing? Do you watch other games? Do you get a chance to see who's doing what? I mean, how much of a fan of the NBA are you while you're in the middle of a season?
Oh, a big fan. I mean, well, let me not say fan. I guess it's more kind of leisurely scouting.
Okay.
But I definitely watch League Pass every night.
Oh, do you?
Things. Yeah. I watch all the games. You know, it's a big part of my life, and I love doing it.
And so people should know a little bit about kind of your trajectory and your story. I would say at every point of your basketball career up until maybe 3 weeks ago, a guy that was maybe underrated. That coming out of high school, you weren't five-star recruit. At Colorado, it took some time, and then when you had finally established yourself, you hurt your knee, right? And that made you go from a guy that was going to be a first-round pick to second-round pick. You bounce around the G League a bit, a number of stints down there, and finally get a real opportunity. I would argue last year. I watched a lot of the Nets last year because I moved here. And then this year, in the argument for the best sixth man in basketball, and the Nets rewarded you. You had a great 24-hour stretch. I think you scored 39 points and then got 34 million. I'm not maybe the other way around. Tell us about the journey. Like the journey from a guy who I'm sure always wanted to play professionally, but I bet even some of your coaches at times were like, oh, you can play professionally, it'll be in Turkey, it'll be a nice living, to getting to where you are now.
Yeah, I mean, I would credit my parents with that. They never told me I couldn't do anything in my life. They believed in me from the jump, from day one, and that type of belief has been pretty much what's carried me through my career, because I've been the kid that was crazy enough to think that he was going to go to the NBA, even though he was the 150th best player in his high school class, and that confidence didn't waver, and it's what allowed me to, you know, keep pushing through barriers and walls and things as they've risen.
Yeah, now you've talked about high school not being rated that way, but it seems like in listening to you on a podcast, reading articles about you, you've always had that mindset that you were an elite talent, regardless of what people had you rated. Then you got hurt in college. You kind of switched it there that I'm supposed to be a lottery pick. Yeah. So even though you were going through the G League, couldn't find a spot on a roster in the Detroit with, man, they're stacked with guards, you might not ever get an opportunity. You always thought you were an elite player. And how has that transferred over to the Nets? You got a lot of guys with some similar stories. Either didn't get a chance, hurt, didn't have the type of rep. How has that led you and the Nets to be able to get this type of chemistry that has you guys in the playoff hunt?
Yeah, I think with all of us having similar stories like that, it kind of creates a bond between brothers that other teams may or may not have. All of us having gone through that fire, we all understand, you know, what it's like to kind of be an outcast or be cast aside. And we know how important it is to really come together, work together, and the power in the unit.
All right, so you did lose last night, but overall the Nets have been playing pretty well in this last stretch. You've won 6 of your last 10. Like C said, if the playoffs started today, you'd be in it right now. What do you credit to this team turning things around?
I think everybody kind of points to a players-only film session we had where Jared Dudley and DeMar Carroll were very vocal, and you know, people think it might have been an airing of grievances or something like that. It really wasn't. It was a lot more technical analysis, and you know, helped our communication as a unit. And then, you know, our organization is first class from top down. You know, Sean Marks, our GM, and Kenny Atkinson as our coach, amongst obviously our massive player development staff and assistant coaches. Just top down, it's first class, and we're finally getting to reap some of those rewards.
Anytime I hear a story about the team, somewhere along there, man, they throw Jared Dudley in there. I mean, so tell Huz, man, he's part of the mix, and in critical minutes, I have seen you guys put him on the floor, you guys play small, and the type of chemistry you got, and he makes big buckets and make big plays. What does he mean to that team right now?
Right now, he's like having a second coach on the floor. You know, he is the vet. You know, Like DeMar Carroll's our vet as well, but
sometimes I look at his body too. I'm thinking, yeah, y'all definitely got a coach on the floor.
No. Hey, I completely understand.
Because he got a body built by Hostess Twinkie, not like Jim Wolf.
I'm not throwing my man under the bus. I'm not throwing my man under the bus.
You can tell him CC said it.
But yeah, no, I definitely would tell him CC said it. But you know, he's just like having another coach on the floor, and the spacing he gives us at the 4 spot, being able to shoot the 3, and just making timely buckets. I mean, he fakes the handoff in critical moments all the time and gets a layup. So you know, he definitely helps us, and you know, it's been a pleasure playing with him.
And this is something I think a lot of NBA fans, and unfortunately even some NBA teams don't understand. When you're in a rebuild, which the Nets were in, now you guys are in the next stage of that, trying to be a playoff contender. But you can't just have young players. Yeah. You can't just have kids. Like Jared Dudley, so I know him a little bit as well. And if people look at the contract he has and his points per game, and they're like, wait, what? How does this make sense? But if you watch the team, they've got to have someone who not only is a coach on the floor, but when you start out 8-18 and you have a bunch of really tough, close losses to where you guys don't let go of the rope, where you guys don't say, oh, there's going to be another bad season. Because since then, you guys have reeled off 12 of 16, but one of the best teams in the league. That's the coaching, but it's also those 2 veteran players you were talking about.
For sure, because you got to remember, coach can prepare us, but like anything else, when you go into the test, he can't go out there and play for you. So you need your brothers to pick you up when you're not at your best, and I think that's one of the things that vets do better than anybody, regardless of the way that they may be playing that game. You know, I think young guys tend to fluctuate sometimes game to game, depending upon how they're doing individually, and vets don't waver, especially not guys like JD and DC.
More people need to hear your story. It's a remarkable story. 5 times sent to the G League. We talked about the injury. You thought you'd be a lottery pick to now you're making custom shoes. How do you go from the G League? Because I've been cut before, and I know those kind of things, they stay with you and they continue to motivate you.
It was in preschool, but he was still cut.
But
come on
now you're making your own custom shoes. What got you into that? And you got to take a tremendous amount of pride into where your life has gone.
Oh, definitely. I mean, the trajectory and where we're at now, it's definitely been a fun journey, and we feel like there's so much more to go. With the Nets, with me individually, obviously with the shoes too. The way it all came about, I used to draw shoes when I was a kid, and it was something that I did just kind of as a passion. I'm not a great artist in terms of, you know, a full spectrum of different types, but for whatever reason, I can draw shoes. When I got back into the league out of the G League, no marquee brand wanted to sign me. And that's kind of when my mind started approaching, like, what would happen if I had my own shoe? What would happen if I took one of these drawings and brought it to life? It's actually not an easy process, and so you have to thank you know, Project Dream, which is basically a set of tools to allow influencers to create their own brand. And they pretty much approached me. They needed somebody crazy enough to do it, and I was in a position to try it. And so, you know, I've been having a lot of fun with being able to create that and go forward.
So a lot of these, so this part I didn't know. I knew they were custom shoes. A lot of these are your drawings?
So the shoe itself is my drawing. Now the individual artwork is done by a man named Picasso. He does a lot of cleats for the NFL.
I've heard of Picasso. I know
so
Picasso.
all the intricate artwork, like the Space Jam shoe, the Prince shoe, Bruce Lee, all that artwork on top of the shoe, that's all Picasso, and he's been phenomenal in what he's doing.
That's really cool, because I know some of the guys, when they don't get the elite shoe companies that want them, all of a sudden they sign with a company in China and none of us heard about that. And sometimes that's the best way to get a check. What you did, that's a really cool thing. And you're the only guy in the league doing it.
Yeah.
And congratulations, man. Congratulations to you and the team. Man, we're going to make some more games this year. Need you guys to make the playoffs. We're pulling for you on the All-Star, so if you're out there voting, fans.
Oh, yeah, I need that.
Voting into the All-Star. Absolutely.
And the last net to make an All-Star team, I'm trying to think, like, maybe
did Joe Johnson or D. Will? Maybe?
I know they did. I wonder if KG got one, like an honorary one when he was there. But you're playing like an all-star.
Thank you.
You're playing like an all-star and 6th man of the year.
Appreciate it.
Congrats,
Spence,
man.
thanks so much.
You,
really appreciate it. I already gave you a nickname. You've been here for 6 minutes.
That's all good.
Spence, that's really good. We got to take a break. Much more first things first right after this.
Making shoes. He got his skinny suit on. He ain't in the G League no
Jared Dudley ain't wearing that suit.
Hey, Mom.
I like the complication of football. I like the strategy.